Europe, where history echoes in old castles, the food is great, and occasionally someone's hiding bodies in a basement. Today we're taking a look at some of the most notorious serial killers in European history. Not just who they were, but how they operated. Their twisted methods, their bizarre patterns, their creepy clinical routines. Let's dive into the minds you really don't want to get inside. 1. Andrei Chikatilo, the Butcher of Rostov, Russia. First, Andrei Chikatilo, aka the Butcher of Rostov, a name that sounds like a bad guy in a Cold War spy thriller, but was somehow worse in real life. Active in the Soviet Union from the late 70s to the early 90s, Chikatilo targeted runaways, sex workers, and vulnerable children near train stations or bus stops. His modus operandi was brutal and ritualistic. He would lure victims into secluded woods, stab or mutilate them repeatedly, often post-mortem, and then discard the bodies like broken dolls. He derived pleasure not from the kill itself, but from the suffering, a deeply disturbing psychological profile that made him unpredictable. He confessed to 56 murders, though the exact number remains uncertain. Soviet authorities ignored the pattern for years, because officially serial killers didn't exist in communism. Unfortunately, Chikatilo very much existed, and he was executed in 1994 with a bullet to the back of the head. 2. Harold Shipman, Dr. Death, UK. Then we have Harold Shipman, aka Dr. Death, who proved you don't need an axe or a creepy van to be a serial killer, just a stethoscope and some horrifying bedside manner. Shipman was a respected general practitioner in northern England. His method? Administering lethal doses of diamorphine, essentially medical-grade heroin, to elderly patients during home visits. He then forged medical records and death certificates to cover his tracks. He often chose victims who lived alone, died peacefully, and wouldn't trigger suspicion. In many cases, families trusted his word without question. That's what made him so terrifying. He weaponized trust. Over 200 patients are believed to have died by his hand. He was arrested in 1998 and sentenced to life, but hanged himself in his cell in 2004. No remorse, no explanation, just silence. 3. Marcel Petiot, Dr. Satan, France. Now we move to Nazi-occupied France, where Dr. Marcel Petiot ran a one-man horror show under the cover of heroism. Petiot posed as a resistance sympathizer. He promised safe passage out of France to Jewish families and fugitives. For a fee, of course. His modus operandi? Bring them to his Paris townhouse, inject them with poison under the guise of vaccination, then dismember and incinerate the bodies in his basement. He even had quicklime pits and a custom-built furnace, because apparently his day planner just said, Tuesday, mass murder. When neighbors complained about the smell, police discovered a literal charnel house, limbs, ashes, and a suspiciously calm doctor. Petiot claimed the bodies were Gestapo agents, but evidence said otherwise. He was executed by guillotine in 1946, which frankly feels like poetic justice. 4. Jack Unterweger, the literary killer, Austria. Our final stop, Austria's Jack Unterweger, a man who turned murder into a media reboot. Originally jailed in the 1970s for strangling a woman with her own bra, Unterweger became a model prisoner, writing poems, plays, and an autobiography so convincing that Austrian intellectuals campaigned for his release, and they got it. He became a minor celebrity, giving interviews, attending literary festivals, and strangling more sex workers across Europe using the exact same signature method. Lingerie as a ligature. It was almost theatrical. Same victim type, same cities he visited for press tours, same method. He even went to Los Angeles and committed murders while reporting on American crime. Eventually, police caught on. He was convicted in 1994 and died by suicide in his prison cell, fashioning a noose from his own clothing. Always on brand, I guess. These were not mysterious geniuses or misunderstood masterminds. They were cold, calculating, and terrifyingly methodical. Each killer had a signature, a rhythm, a method, and for far too long, it worked. Thankfully, modern profiling, better forensics, and a slightly healthier distrust of overly charming doctors have made it harder for monsters like these to stay hidden. Like, subscribe, and let me know if you want a part 2. We barely scratched the surface, and trust me, some of the names we skipped are even worse.